The mimer we'll start now is called Lehovin Inyan Simchas Torah. It's a mimer that explains what Simchas Torah is all about. But first of all, just to give an introduction to this mimer, and not only this mimer, but the few mamorim, what's known as a hemshech, a continuation of a few mamorim that explain one after the other. And this hemshech was said in a very historic time, and something which is very much connected also and has a very strong lesson specifically to our time. In Tavshin Lamed Ches, 1977, the end of 1977, on Shmini Atzeres by night, the Rebbe had a heart attack. And to understand a little bit the background of it, we know that the Chabad Rabbeim, almost all of the Rabbeim would sometimes take some time off. What they called dache was more spiritual things that they were doing then, of elevating the sparks, etc., etc. But practically each Rebbe, a Rebbe job is not an easy job. If you want to look at it from Das Tachten, from the way we look at it down here. And the Rabbeim would go take time for whatever various other spiritual things they were doing. The Rebbe is the only one of the Rabbeim that for all of the years of his Nesius, from the day that the Rebbe accepted the leadership and even beforehand, the Rebbe never took one day off. In fact, that's something which was specific by the Rebbe even from before the Nesius, even from back in Poland, when the Frierdiker Rebbe went on dacha and wanted the Rebbe to come with, and the Rebbe wasn't able to come with. Every single day the Rebbe was there in the office working. The Yechidus days were Yechidus, etc., etc. Something which even in Chabad history is foreign, is something not common. And here in Tavshin Lamed Ches, which means 27 years after the Rebbe accepted the leadership, on Simchas Torah, Shmini Atzeres night, the Rebbe had a heart attack. The first time the Rebbe called in sick, so to speak. The first time that there was a day that the Rebbe is not there in the office. You can imagine what kind of feeling it was amongst the Chassidim, and what kind of impression it made. The Chassidim didn't know what to think. This was Shmini Atzeres night. The Rebbe already immediately sent messages to continue dancing and singing, as well as on Simchas Torah. And then on Motzei Simchas Torah, 2 days, not even a full 2 days, after the heart attack, after suffering a massive heart attack, the Rebbe said he's giving a surprise to the Chassidim, and that was that the Rebbe said a sicha. The Rebbe spoke from his room. The Rebbe asked permission from the doctor to speak, and the doctor gave permission to speak for 5 minutes. The Rebbe spoke for much longer, and later the doctor asked the Rebbe, "Did you say everything you have to say?" And the Rebbe said, "If I'll say everything I have to say, then I'll never finish." The sicha was sent in with a live hookup to downstairs in 770, as well as to other places all around the world. Later, the Rebbe edited this as a mimer, was a mimer kein sicha, as a mimer, and also the sicha part, so it was split into 2 parts, the sicha part and the mimer part. And this is the mimer Lehovin Inyan Simchas Torah. Later on, a few days later, was Shabbos Bereishis. Motzei Shabbos Bereishis, once again, the Rebbe said a mimer kein sicha, which means the Rebbe spoke from his room on Motzei Shabbos by hookup, which came out the mimer part as the mimer Bereishis Bara Likim. The next week, a week later, was Motzei Shabbos Parshas Noach, where the Rebbe spoke about, and the mimer was Mayim Rabim. And a week later was Shabbos Parshas Lech Lecha, where a mimer came out, Vayemer Hashem el Avram Lech Lecha Me'artzecha. The next week, Vayera, there wasn't a Farbrengen on Motzei Shabbos. And Chayisara, Motzei Shabbos Chayisara, which was Shabbos Mevorchim Kislev, was once again a mimer Vayu Chayisara. The next week was Rosh Chodesh Kislev, when the Rebbe came home, when the Rebbe went home from 770, and that became the famous Rosh Chodesh Kislev, the big Simcha by Chassidim. The next Motzei Shabbos was Motzei Shabbos, Parshas, not the next Motzei Shabbos, but 2 weeks later was Parshas Vayetze, where the Rebbe said V'shafti b'shalom, which is later was edited by the Rebbe 10 years later as the longest edited mimer of the Rebbe. So let's go back now to this mimer, which is the beginning. In truth, there was also another mimer that the Rebbe edited and said beforehand, which is Basukes Teishvu, but we won't start from that. That was before Simchas Torah, but this is the first mimer after Shmini Atzeres, and really all of these mamarim are a hemshech. A hemshech means a continuation of mamarim that are all discussing the same concept, but bringing it into a deeper and more, each time bringing it into a deeper level and to understand it in a greater way. And the concept that is being discussed is V'Yaakov halach ledarkei. How one goes at the end of Yom Tov, at the end of the month of Tishrei, which starting from Simchas Torah, from the power that one gets from Simchas Torah, but specifically Motzei Simchas Torah, after Simchas Torah is over, after we went through the holidays of the month of Tishrei, and later after Shabbos Bereshis, and later even more than that after Shabbos Noach, and after Shabbos Lech Lecha, and then when it comes already Shabbos Mevarchim of Kislev, how one goes and does and accomplishes the idea of Yaakov halach ledarkei. Every Jew is Yaakov. Yaakov, he went on his way. And when he went on his way, he took with him all the power that he received and all the strength that he received from above. And so also every Jew is the Yaakov, and he goes on his way at the end of Yom Tov, at the end of a great and inspiring month of Tishrei. But he does what's the purpose and the goal of Tishrei, which is to bring it down into the world and into his everyday life. And it's these mamarim because it's such an important thing. It's an important thing not just in the month of Tishrei, but specifically in the month of Tishrei, because it's a Chodesh HaKlali, it's a general month, a month that gives us power for the entire year. And as we know, that Tishrei is called, the word Tishrei is from the letters Reishis, the beginning, which is also Rosh Hashanah, because it doesn't only mean the beginning, but it means the head. And just as the head controls all the limb of the body, so also the month of Tishrei, which is the Chodesh HaShvi, the 7th month, which is satiated with all the powers that there are. And it satiates and gives strength to all the other months, that they should also have the power to do what has to be done. This is the month that gives a Jew the power to go through his year and do what he's supposed to do and be able to accomplish his mission in this world. And therefore it's such a powerful and important thing that it doesn't only explain it in one mimer, but in a few mamarim, one after the other, to be able to fully explain to us and give us the idea of what it means. V'Yaakov halach ledarkei, and Yaakov went on his way, which is every Jew going on his way in the world and being able to accomplish and fulfill his mission with the powers and strength that he got from the month of Tishrei. And so it starts mostly on Motzei Simchas Torah, once Simchas Torah is over. But in order to understand it, we understand also the general concept of Simchas Torah itself, because in a certain sense, Simchas Torah itself is already the idea of Yaakov halach ledarkei, as we'll see now in the Maimer. So let's look at the Maimer inside so we can understand what it's all about. But before we start the Maimer, just a word that these Mamarim are Yaakov halach ledarkei, which shows how a Jew takes the powers and the strength that he gets and brings it into the world. But more importantly, regarding the time that these Mamarim were said, was a time of concealment. A Rebbe is the one who reveals godliness in the world. And when the Rebbe is concealed, meaning that Chassidim weren't able to see the Rebbe, Chassidim weren't able to interact with the Rebbe in the way that they were used to. Chassidim, in fact, had a worry for the Rebbe's health, etc., which was something which shows on a concealment. Godliness is being concealed and not revealed in the regular, normal way, but rather it comes in a concealed manner. And these mamarim teach us how one must behave in such a time. Take those amazing powers that he gets from Hashem, which are supposed to and they're meant, just like the powers of the month of Tishrei, an inspirational month, but their purpose is to go into the darkness of Cheshvan, to go into a time when we don't have that inspiration. And that's what the goal and the mission and the purpose of the creation of the world is, that we should be able to bring godliness into those times as well. And so also with regards to specific times when godliness is hidden, when one doesn't see a Rebbe, when one doesn't see the one that draws down and reveals godliness in the world, and yet in that time itself we're given the lessons in these mamarim, how one should do it, and how one should be able to, in those times, be able to live in the way that he's supposed to, and be able to use the special power and strength that he gets from above to fulfill this mission of illuminating the darkness of the world. So the Maimer begins with the words Lehovin, Inyan, Simchas Torah, to understand the concept of Simchas Torah. There's many mamarim. In general, we know that Chassidus, the mamarim of Chassidus, there's no or almost no such a thing as a new Dibur HaMaschil. The Dibur HaMaschil, meaning the words with which the mamarim begin, are words that have been given over and transmitted from generation to generation from the Avos Chassidus, the fathers of Chassidus, which is mostly the Alter Rebbe, the Mittel Rebbe, and the Tzemach Tzedek, and it's those mamarim that are continued to be given by the Rabbeim throughout the generations. One of the ways of starting a Maimer, those words which are the Dibur HaMaschil, the words that begin a Maimer, in general are not necessarily something which is giving us the understanding of everything that the Maimer talks about. On the contrary, the words that start the Maimer, they include everything, but yet the purpose is that it opens up our mind to be able to take in concepts of Chassidus by giving us a connection to something practical in the world, whether it's with a pasuk, whether it's with a mishnah, or sometimes it's with the words Lehovin, to understand. There's Lehovin Inyan Rashbi, to understand Reb Shimon ben Yochai, there's Lehovin Inyan Matzah, there's various ideas in Mamarim of understanding things, that this Maimer is to help us understand something that we're trying to understand. Now this Maimer starts with the words Lehovin Inyan Simchas Torah, to understand the idea of Simchas Torah. Simchas Torah is something that needs to be understood, because Simchas Torah is one of the strangest days and strangest ideas that exists, with the fact that Simchas Torah is not mentioned in Torah Shebiksav, it's not mentioned in the Mishnah, it's not mentioned in the Gemara, and even in Shulchan Aruch it's mentioned only in one small line of the Ramah, where the Ramah says, Noyagin, the custom is that on Simchas Torah we go around the Bima 7 times. The whole idea of Simchas Torah is something which not necessarily in time of the Gemara, some people finished the entire Torah once a year, and some finished it once in 3 years. It wasn't necessarily a uniform thing that everyone finished reading the entire Torah at the same time on Simchas Torah. It was a custom that became entrenched in the Jewish awareness to the extent that as of now, in today's time, Simchas Torah is one of the strongest and most powerful holidays that exist. And yet it's a holiday that seemingly has no source, or almost no source whatsoever. It's certainly not in Torah Shebiksav, in Mishnah, and in Gemara. And the source in Shulchan Aruch is a minhag, a custom. And yet the minhag of Simchas Torah is such a part of the Jewish awareness, of the Jewish existence, of the existence of every Jew. And as the Maimer says, that there's some people who all year they don't have a connection as much in a revealed way with the Torah, and yet Simchas Torah they come dance with the Torah. And that's why we need to have Lehovin in Simchas Torah, to understand what is the concept of this Simchas Torah. What is this idea all about of, on one hand, being the greatest, the most powerful Yom Tov, one that every Jew connects to, and on the other hand being something that the Torah doesn't even talk about. Something that it's not even, its source isn't even in a revealed way in Torah except in one line in Shulchan Aruch, in one Ramah in Shulchan Aruch. The power of Simchas Torah is so strong that we find even in halacha that certain customs are done on Simchas Torah because of the great joy that override halachas. Things that can't be done all year long because of halacha. And yet on Simchas Torah we do it. And the halacha brings these customs as this is the proper thing. And like the famous words, minhag, mevatel halacha, a custom of Jews can even override halacha. Many things that are done because of the simcha of Simchas Torah. Some communities have the custom to read the Torah at night. After Hakafis at night, they'll read the Torah. Now it's something which isn't mentioned anywhere in Shulchan Aruch. There's no such a thing as reading the Torah at night. Where is ever such a thing done? With brachas, with aliyas. And to the extent, it's so much so that it's a custom, that the custom varies between some reading 3 aliyas, others reading 5 aliyas, others reading 7 aliyas, because there's no way of understanding and knowing how to do it. And similarly with so many other customs, the fact that everyone gets an aliyah, even children under bar mitzvah, etc., things that all year don't fit in halacha, but the custom of Simchas Torah overrides it. So that's how powerful Simchas Torah is. And yet, where's its source? So this is something which needs to be understood. In other words, when we start with the words Lehovin, Inyan, Simchas Torah, what we're basically saying is that Simchas Torah makes no sense. Simchas Torah from all sides makes no sense. It makes no sense because it doesn't say it in the Torah. It makes no sense because it's not something that we can find a source for. It makes no sense because it seems to override halachas of Torah, which are halachas that apply all year long. So it's something which must be understood because it's beyond understanding. Just like when we say Lehovin Inyan Rashbi or Lehovin Inyan Hilula de Rashbi, what is Rab Shimon ben Yochai? He's something that's beyond understanding. Also Simchas Torah, every part of it is something that's beyond understanding. So here the Maimer is opening us up by explaining to us a concept and an essence of Chassidus. Not just about Simchas Torah, about the general idea of how a Jew can connect to something that's beyond understanding by starting with the point of Lehovin Inyan Simchas Torah, to try and make us understand what is the concept of Simchas Torah. And now we start with specific questions. There's the known question that's asked in the Mamarim of Chassidus. Ma she'oifen ha-simcha de Simchas Torah He sheloichim sefer Torah kifi shikrucho mechusa memapa umerakdin imam. The question that's asked in many Mamarim of Chassidus is, how does one rejoice with the Torah on Simchas Torah? Is that we take a Sefer Torah, the way it's rolled up, it's covered up with a mantle, with the cover of the Torah, and we danced with a closed Sefer Torah. This itself also brings out the aspect of something that's beyond understanding. And as Chassidus continues to explain the question, Di meyois shebetorah ksiv, ki chachmaschem uvinaschem goimer, despite the fact that in the Torah it says, what is Torah? Torah is your wisdom, your understanding, even to the eyes of the nation, which means Torah is the greatest wisdom. Wisdom is something that everyone can relate to, and that's why it says even Leinei Amim, even the nations, when they see a Jew, when they see the Torah, they recognize and they say, Rak am chacham v'navain, Hagoy HaGadol Hazeh, this great nation is a wise and understanding nation. As we know, the Gemara says, Chachma b'goyim tamin. The fact that goyim have wisdom is something that you can believe. Torah b'goyim al tamin, don't believe that goyim have Torah. But the essence of Torah, the fact that it's the greatest wisdom, the goyim in the world all know that if you want a wisdom, the greatest wisdom, which perhaps they say, we don't even relate to it, but we can understand and recognize that this is the greatest wisdom in the world. Wisdom is something that a person learns, studies, makes sense. And yet, How do we dance with the Torah? How do we celebrate the Torah? By going beyond making sense. To the extent that we have to say, Lehovin, Inyan, Simchas Torah, to understand it. The Torah itself doesn't tell us about this celebration. This celebration is something that goes beyond sense, to the extent that even the way we celebrate is with a closed, rolled up Sefer Torah, which is covered with a cover. If we want to celebrate Torah, learn, understand, sit down with a Gemara, sit down with a Sefer and learn it to be able to understand it. That's the way to rejoice. And that's what Chassidus is asking. That despite the fact that Torah is wisdom, wisdom means something that even the Goyim are able to recognize this, and Mikol Makim, nevertheless, Oifen Simchazu. How do we actually rejoice with the Torah? It doesn't come through learning and understanding, rather through dancing. What do we dance with? Our feet. We don't dance with our heads. We don't dance with an open sefer. We dance around the bima where we read the Torah. It's not even about reading the Torah, it's about dancing with the Torah. And it's actually for this reason, because the dancing and the rejoicing with the Torah is not something which is dependent on understanding. Therefore, the simcha of Simchas Torah is by every single Jew. Even by the simplest Jews that are not able to understand. What does it mean they're not able to understand? Not only they don't understand, they, because of their kelim, because of their abilities, their intellectual abilities, they don't have the ability to understand the depth of the Torah. And yet, these are the ones that are dancing with the Torah. Not only they're dancing with the Torah, but everyone dances together. That's the way we dance in a circle, is that there's no difference between the biggest Talmid Chacham, who understands and he knows the depth of the whole Shas and the depth and the secrets of the Torah, and the simplest Jew who doesn't understand, who's not capable of understanding. And yet they dance together. What does that have to do with dancing with a Torah? More than this, at the time of the rejoicing and the dancing of a kafes, there's drawn to this joy and the rejoicing of the kafes the type of people that all year you don't see their connection with Torah in the revealed way. And like you see clearly, you see practically who comes to shul on Simchas Torah. Not only people who all year they learn Torah, not only people who all year they follow Torah, even people who all year their connection to Torah is not revealed, and yet Simchas Torah they come to dance. What does this come from? What are we dancing for? When a person dances, he's happy with something. What is a person who doesn't understand the Torah, who doesn't learn the Torah, who doesn't even behave according to the Torah in many things? What does such a person have to dance about? So the question is a double one. First of all, seemingly, if we're dancing with Torah, it should be dancing by understanding it, by learning it. And yet we're dancing with a closed Sefer Torah. But even more than that, who's coming to dance? Every single Jew. What's their connection? What are they rejoicing about? Which means that there's obviously something deeper in Simchas Torah. There's something that's there which is beyond Torah, beyond being written in the Torah, beyond even some things, the halachas of the Torah, something which reaches the essence of a Jew, and yet this is Simchas Torah, this is the rejoicing of the Torah. The Inyan, the Rabbi continues to explain that this concept, the fact that the joy of Simchas Torah is something which is expressed by every Jew, Torah should be ksav dafka. It's also expressed with the fact that which sefer do we dance with? Not with the Gemara, not with the Shulchan Aruch, Not with a Sefer of Torah Shebal Peh, which is where we are more connected to its understanding, but rather we dance with the Sefer Torah, which is the written Torah. Shafilu zeh shelo yada mai ka'amar mevarich birchas haTorah k'sheteirim b'Torah shebeksav. The halacha is that if a person learns Torah Shebal Peh, he learns Mishnah, he learns Gemara, he learns halacha, and he doesn't understand what he's saying. He learns just the letters of a Torah. He can't make a bracha. He can't make birchas haTorah, because birchas haTorah is nasan lanu es Torah. So he gave us his Torah. You didn't learn Torah. It's not considered learning. But when it comes to the words of Torah shebeksav, the written Torah, even someone who doesn't know what he's talking about, he still, as long as he learns the words of the Torah, he makes a bracha of birchas haTorah. He's called up to the Torah. A person gets an aliyah. He doesn't know how to read. He doesn't know what it says. He's connecting to the letters of the Torah. He makes a bracha, shabachar banu v'nasan lanu es Torah, which means that this rejoicing of Torah, even though Torah is wisdom, Torah is understanding, Torah is deep learning, and yet the rejoicing of the Torah is with Torah shebeksav, with something which connects to every Jew, even someone who doesn't know what he's talking about. And the Rabbi continues to say, "Umikivan shezeh ma shemevarich birchas haTorah, hu al pi tzivui Torahs emes." Since the fact that even this person who doesn't know what he's talking about still makes birchas haTorah, that's something which comes from the commandment of the Torah of truth. Haripashut shekeni ametzias. It's obvious that this is the reality. Shegam zeh shelo yada mai ka'amar. That even someone who doesn't know what he's talking about, he's just reading the words of Torah and he doesn't understand them. Mamshich Erein Seif. He draws down the infinite light of Hashem. Ve'ad atzmus umhus neisin haTorah b'Torah shalemed, to the extent that he even brings down the essence of Hashem, who's the one who gives the Torah, into the Torah that he learns. Gam yodua diuk. A second question that we ask is lama isin Simchas Torah b'Shmini Atzeres uv'chutz la'aretz b'Yom Tov Sheni d'Shmini Atzeres. And the second question is in truth a continuation to the first question. First question that we asked and at length was, what is Simchas Torah? So the first question is, what is it all about? What are we dancing for? Why does everyone dance? Why are we dancing with a close Sefer Torah? Why don't we understand the Torah? That should be what causes us rejoicing. Why is the dancing something that comes with a close Sefer Torah, which means that we're obviously dancing with the essence of Torah, something which is beyond understanding. And the second idea is the fact that we don't dance on Shavuos, which is the time when we got the Torah, but rather we dance on Shmini Atzeres. That means that the dancing, and not only that, on the second day of Shmini Atzeres, that means that the dancing is something which is connected to something deeper than just receiving the Torah, understanding the Torah. It's something that has to do with the essence of a Jew's connection to the Torah and to the letters of the Torah. So in order to explain this, the Rabbi continues now in the second ois. Muvab Yerba said the explanation that's brought in Chassidus is Alpi Madisa b'Medrash, placed on what the Medrash says. The Medrash says the following: Ru'uya hoiso atzeres shel Chag, shetei rechoika chamishim yoim keneged atzeres shel Pesach. We have two specific days that the Torah calls atzeres. There's another Atzeres, which is Shavuos, which that is the Atzeres of Pesach, which means that's the day which is the final, so to speak, day of Pesach, the day when Pesach is internalized, it's brought in and becomes internalized by a person that's on Shavuos. Shavuos is 50 days later, and the point of it is that Yitzias Mitzrayim, we leave Egypt, we're leaving our limitations. When do we internalize what we got by leaving Mitzrayim? 50 days later. It takes time. It takes 7 weeks. Each day we elevate another midah, another one of the 7 middas, times 7, until finally we get to the 50th day, and then we're able to internalize what we had by leaving Egypt, which the internalizing of it is to bring it in, to make it become part of us, which that happens by getting the Torah. The Torah tells us and teaches us and enables us to internalize the great revelation that we had in leaving Mitzrayim. That's the Atzeres of Pesach. Sukkot also has an Atzeres. Sukkot is also days that are fully connected to something which is above the person. On Sukkot, we sit inside the sukkah. We sit in the sukkah which surrounds us, which goes beyond our head, which goes above us. And even though we take also the lulav and esrog, but taking the lulav and esrog is to help us internalize the revelation of the sukkah, but the entire concept of Sukkot is an idea of something which is above the person. Then we get the 8th day of Sukkot, which is Atzeres. Atzeres is that it internalizes. It brings in, it takes in the great revelations that we had on Sukkot. Now, seemingly, it should also be 50 days later. You can't just go, if we just finish Sukkot, you can't jump now to the next day to Simchas Torah and internalize it. You need time to work it through, just like we did on Pesach. And that's what the Medrash's question is. Just like the Atzeres of Sukkot, of Pesach, which takes 50 days, because if you want to internalize something, you have to work it through. So also the Atzeres of Sukkot should also take 50 days. Elo Atzeres shel Chag. But what's the reason that it's not like this? It's because the Atzeres of Sukkot, al yedei shein yetzin min hakayitz lachedef, because at that time the people are leaving summer and going into the winter, and therefore leis biyoimayu the yezlun v'yesun, there isn't the time in the days that we should go and come back, which means we're going from the summer into the winter. The winter days are shorter. The daylight time in the winter is shorter. Summer is a time when there is an intense heat which shows on and expresses the heat and the light of the Son of Hashem, which means the light of godliness that shines upon us, the godly light that comes to us. That's what happens in the summer. Summer, the daylight time is longer. Now we're going into the winter where it gets cold, which means there's the lack of that light. We're going into the winter, which is a time that the daylight time is shorter. There isn't the ability, there isn't the time to be able to go and come back, and therefore we need to have this Atzeres right away. What does this mean? So in order to understand what it means, because it's something which is hard to understand on its own, and in Torah, whenever there's something that's hard to understand on its own, it's brought closer to our understandings through a mashal, through an analogy in the physical world. Says the Medrash, mashal l'mahadavar deime. What's the analogy? What is this compared to? L'melech shahayu lebanis harbe, a king that had many daughters. Mehen nisuis l'makim karev, umehen nisuis l'makim rachayk. His daughters got married. Some of them got married and they lived close to the king. Some of them got married and they lived far away from the king. Yom echad, one day, bo kulan lishel shleima melech avim. All the daughters of the king that lived in the various places in his kingdom, some close, some far, they all came together to greet, to say hello, and to greet their father, the king. The king, their father. Amar HaMelech, and so the king said the following: Eilu shenesuis b'makim karev is b'einasan lemeizel ulemesi. Those who are married and live close by, they have enough time now to go and come back. And therefore, essentially, I can invite them back again at a later time. But v'ilein shenesuis b'makim rachaik, those who are married and live in a further place, they don't have enough time to go and come back because they live far away. They're not able to come back. Once they leave, they won't be able to come back. And therefore, now since they're all here by me, Let's make all together one special celebration so I can rejoice with all of them together. Kach, in this similar way, says the Medrash, Atzeres shel Pesach, Ad inu nafkin mecheref lekayitz. The Atzeres of Pesach, because they're leaving and going from the winter into the summer, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Is b'yoyma lemeizel u'lemeisi. There's enough time now. We're going into the summer, which has longer days, which has the sun, the godly light and revelation. There's more Yomim Tovim in the summer, etc. And therefore there is the time to go and come back. And therefore we can do it 50 days, 7 weeks later. Avol Atzeres shel Chag, but the Atzeres of Sukkot, Alidei shein yetzin mi'akayitz l'cherev chulu, because they're leaving the summer and going into the winter, Amar HaKadosh Baruch Hu, Hashem says, Leis b'yoyma lemeizel u'lemeisi. There isn't enough time to go and come back because it's now the short days of the winter. Ela adinun hacha, now that they're here with me, the Jewish people, Navid kulon chad yamtiv v'nechdi, let's make one special yamtiv and rejoice on this special yamtiv. V'zeu ma she'osin Simchas Torah b'Shmini Atzeres. And that's why we celebrate Simchas Torah on Shmini Atzeres, not 7 weeks later, but on Shmini Atzeres. But also not on Shavuos, but rather on Shmini Atzeres. Why? The one single day in which all the daughters, which is B'nai Tzion v'Yerushalayim, what we call the daughters of Tzion in Yerushalayim, Hainu Nishmes Yisrael, meaning the neshamas of the Jewish people, and they come Lishel Shleima Melech Avim to greet the king, their father, Ka'yal Yom Kippurim. That one day is Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day when all the neshamas, all the B'nai Tzion v'Yerushalayim, they come to connect to Hashem. And afterwards we say, let's all make one yamtiv and rejoice with it, which means Simchas Torah, which is set on the second day of Shmini Atzeres, Shu Chad Yamtiv, which is one single yamtiv, B'dugma Sayom Echad Yom Kippurim, similar to this one single day of Yom Kippur. Now the Maimer is going to continue to explain it a little more, but the truth is, in the Maimer we'll explain it, we'll explain and take it to the next level of mostly understanding what is the greatness of this one day. Why one single day? But before, let's understand a little bit, at least in short, what the Medrash is saying. Let's look at the Medrash. The Medrash is talking about the king. The king is Hashem. The king has many daughters. Some of them are married in a distant place. Some of them are married in a close place. All of them, meaning both those who are in the distant place and those who are in the close place, they all came together. And now the king says, well, those who are in the close place, it's easy for them to come back. That's like Pesach. Those who are in the distant place, they can't come back, so let's all work together. But what does that have to do with all of them? Here we're not saying two separate things. See, seemingly, if we wanted to say the mashal, we would have to say a mashal of two different types of parties. One party the king makes where the daughters who are married close by, they come. So then the king says, well, let them go and come back. Another story is when the daughters who are living far away, they come. So then the king says, well, they don't have time, so let's make the Yom Tov right away. But the Medrash doesn't say this. The Medrash says they all came together on this single day, and the king says, well, these are technically able to come back, but the others can't, so let's make it now. What's exactly the Medrash saying? And what exactly is this whole story of the king and the daughters? What's exactly the story of what the Medrash is saying? So let's look at the difference between Pesach and Sukkot. Pesach is a time of tzaddikim. Pesach is a time when the Jewish people left Mitzrayim. The Jewish people are on a level where they leave all their limitations. They're on a level of a tzaddik, of a person who has that strong, powerful connection to Hashem. This tzaddik who has the powerful connection to Hashem, he has two levels in his avodah. First, he connects through the Gilui, through the revelation of above, that Hashem comes and shows him the great Gilui of Nigla, Aleya, Melech, Malchi, Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu, B'chveidu, Uvatzmi, Ugalim. Hashem himself reveals the greatest level of revelation of godliness, and that takes him out of his limitations. Once he leaves his limitations, it's now necessary to internalize it. And so Hashem says, well, you're going into the summer, meaning you have still that revelation. You have that connection. You have the power to be able to do it. Internalize it. Chew it through. Goes through one midah at a time. Once you'll internalize it, then we can bring it in and then we'll have Shavuos. There's time to wait. There's time to push it off because you're going through now a Seder. You're going through an orderly type of Avodah. Yom Kippur, which is the Yom Echad Shebo Kulan Lishel Shleima Melech Aviyim. The one day that all the Neshamis, which means all the B'nai Sia in Yerushalayim, both the Tzaddikim and the Baalei Tshuva, they all come together to greet the King. But they're all coming to greet the King in a way of Tshuva, in a way that's beyond where they have to reconnect and return to their root, which is return to the King and connect to the King. The revelation of Yom Kippur comes out on Sukkot. And now the King says, because there are those who don't have the power and don't have the ability to go and come back. Because as Baalei Tshuva, if they go, they won't be able to come back. They haven't yet reached this level of the Avodah Misuderes, the orderly fashion of Avodah. Now it's necessary immediately to have the Shmini Atzeres, not through a 7-week program, but rather through giving a special day in which we can rejoice and bring it in and internalize it. But as a result, everyone, even those who are on a higher level of tzaddikim, they can now internalize the revelation of Yom Kippur. They can now internalize the revelation of Yom Kippur, which came out on Sukkot, and internalize it right away because of those neshamas that leis b'yomayu l'mezul l'mesi. And that's what we're going to explain now, how that comes out through the achdus, the oneness of every Jew together, and the way we become one with Hashem, because seemingly the atzeres, the klita of Pesach is understandable. You had these great revelation enabling a person to leave his limitations. Now he works it through, he chews it through one midah at a time. Shavuos is able to internalize it, to make it become real. Now he can receive the Torah. It can be something that can actually affect and change his life. Simchas Torah, what happens then? You had Yom Kippur. You had that amazing connection. You had Sukkot, which is above the power of a person's ability to internalize, to understand it. And then you have another day. It's another day of Simchas Torah. What makes you and what enables you to internalize it, that it should become part of the person so that he can live his life like this, which is the essence of what we said earlier of what the Maimer is. V'Yakov halach ledarkoi. You're going into Cheshvan. You're going into a time of darkness, a time of lack of understanding, a time when you can't see, you can't hear, you can't recognize what it's all about. Simchas Torah gives the power to do it. How? How does Simchas Torah give the power any more than Sukkot and Yom Kippur? If Simchas Torah is just another day right after that. Shavuos we can understand, but how does Simchas Torah do it? And that's what the Medrash is saying, that this is what Simchas Torah does. And not only that, but in a certain way, the neshamas of tzaddikim gain that they also are now able to have this great revelation of Simchas Torah, in which it helps be able to internalize and to give for a time of chayref, of winter, of darkness, of short days, of a lack of the sun and the shine of Hashem, to be able to even there be able to internalize and make it become part of us so we can live our life with that. And that's what we're going to explain now in the Maimer. Ois Gimel V'Yuvan Zeh Alpi Mashin is Boyer Liil Dibar Maschel Besukes Teishvu. So to understand this, the Rebbe now connects to something that was explained in what we said the earlier Maimer, which was Besukes Teishvu also said that year Tavshin Lamed Ches, and which the Rebbe also edited that Maimer that year. But here in short, the Rebbe explains everything that it said in that mimer, which is, Shekol HaMoyadim Dechodesh Tishrei B'Vchina Shel Achas. We said earlier, what's special about Sukkot, about Simchas Torah? It's the time which enables us to bring down the revelation of the Yom Echad, the one single day when Bo Kulam, all the Neshamas, the Bnei Sion Yerushalayim, come to greet the Melech, the king, their father. What is this oneness? So the Rebbe explains that all the Yomim Tovim of Tishrei, they're all the level of oneness. The name. Al Rosh Hashanah Amru Razal Mitzvah Sayim B'Shofar. Regarding Rosh Hashanah, Chazal say the mitzvah of the day is with blowing shofar. Hainu, what does that mean? Tezeh ma shayim de Rosh Hashanah. Hu chaluk mishar hamoyadim. Hu b'mitzvah achas. Ein un ein sike mitzvah shofar. What differentiates Rosh Hashanah from all the other Yomim Tovim? One single mitzvah, which is the mitzvah of shofar. Meaning, there is a certain oneness, a certain concept of one, a single concept that makes Rosh Hashanah into Rosh Hashanah. What's that single concept, that special mitzvah of shofar? Mitzvah zugufa kaisav Rambam, and regarding this mitzvah itself, the Rambam writes, Shigzeiras hakasav l'mayla mitam. It's a decree of the pasuk. It's above reason. It's above understanding. Dagam sham mitzvah de shefer gam meramezes al inyanim achinayim binyan tshuva. Despite the fact that the mitzvah of shofar is also shows on the highest concepts of tshuva, and like the Rambam continues to say, that there's something that it hints to, that it alludes to, which is awaken those who are asleep from your slumber and from your sleep. What's the idea of Rosh Hashanah? It's a gzeira of the pasuk which is above reason. What does that mean? What are we saying? What's the oneness and what's the oneness that's above reason? What's the difference between one and many? In general, godliness is expressed by the idea of oneness. One means one single essence which is above understanding, above separation. The idea of shofar is that it's one single thing meaning it's the oneness. It's not something which can separate and split into many ideas and understanding, something that one can understand. There'll be many explanations to it. Something which is above understanding. That's something which is an essence and it's an essential thing, which is the essential connection of a Jew to Hashem. It's Gzeiras HaKasav. This is the way it is. The whole idea of blowing shofar is we blow from the depths of our heart. It's not something that can make sense. It's not a song. It's not an explanation. It's not an idea. It's an essential connection of this is the reality. And yet, this essential connection comes down into Remez, into what it alludes to, which is many concepts. Malchios, Zichronos, Shofres, etc. It explains at length in the Mamarim. But what is its essence? One. That's what Tishrei, that's what Rosh. The head of the year, the head starts with the oneness, the essential connection, as the Rebbe continues. Val derech zeh hu gam b'negel Yom Kippurim. It's the same thing regarding Yom Kippur. Siyum asara yom shebein Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippurim, which is the completion, the end of the 10 days between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur. Shibchinas achas dechol hagimel bchinas doilam shana nefesh. On Yom Kippur, what's expressed is the oneness of all the three aspects that express our world, which is space, time, and being. The special avodah that's done on Yom Kippur is in the Holy of Holies, which is bchinas achas doilam makom. Olam. What is our world? We know the pasuk says, "V'har Sinai oshan kulei." Har Sinai was totally smoking. What was the idea of that? Is how the Torah came and was brought into every aspect of the world. And Ashan is Rosh Tevis, Olam, Shana, Nefesh. There are three aspects in which the world expresses the fact that it's a world. Space. Space is that there's so many, each space is separated. What expresses and what makes space into space is the fact that one place is different than the other place. Similarly, time. The fact that one time, one moment is different than the next. Otherwise, there wouldn't be the whole thing that makes time. Is the fact that there's a difference and that 1 second isn't the same as the other second. And similarly, nefesh, beings, people, souls, or beings, anything being, the fact that one being is different than another being, that's what it expresses, it's being a being. However, all of those, olam, space, is all included. All of space is expressed in one single space, which this is the highest space that there is, but it's not just it's the highest space. This is the space which includes, which unifies all of space. That's the Kodesh HaKodashim, the Holy of Holies, which is a place that's above place. That's what happens on Yom Kippur. Where is the special avodah of Yom Kippur? In Kodesh HaKodashim, in this space which is above space and therefore brings the oneness into the entire space of the world. And similarly, when is the time? It's b'yom, the Yom HaKippurim, shenikra b'shem achas b'shana. It's the day of Yom Kippur, which is called once on the year. B'chinas achas d'shana zman. It's where all of the different parts of the year, 365 days of the year, hours, minutes, seconds, but where they're all expressed in the oneness of Yom Kippur. Yom Kippur is a day that's above days. It's an interesting thing. The Gemara tells us that Satan is Gematria 359. Or Has-Satan is Gematria 364. Because the Satan is only powerful 364 days of the year. There's one day of the year, which is the 365th day of the year, which is Yom Kippur, which is a day which is above days. The year is 365 days, which includes Yom Kippur. But yet that one day of Yom Kippur is a day which is above days. It's a time which is above time because it's a time that expresses being above time. And similarly, who does the avodah of Yom Kippur? V'naseis al yidei Kohen Gadol, it's done through the Kohen Gadol, the high priest. Elasha Kohen Gadol eisezeh b'ter shluchim shel kol Yisrael. The Kohen Gadol does it as the messenger, as the emissary of all of Israel. The chsiv bei, that regarding the Kohen Gadol, it says, Vayavdil Aaron lagdishay kodesh kadashim. Aaron was separated to make him holy, become holy of holies. B'chinas achas de nefesh. That's the achas in being, in soul. So Yom Kippur is the oneness. What does oneness mean? Again, that it expresses the many separations. They're all included in that one essence, which is the essence of it all, in all of the things of time, space, and being. Same thing is with regards to Sukkah. Shabini na Sukkah. Shemitzvahs yeshiva b'Sukkah b'meshech kol shivas yimei Sukkahs. Meireg ha'rishon shabas chalasam, in the concept of Sukkah, that the mitzvah of sitting in the Sukkahs throughout all the 7 days of Sukkahs, from the first moment in the beginning of Sukkahs, every single day of Sukkot, so it's 7 days. And yet the mitzvah of Sukkot starts right away. And in this mitzvah of Sukkot, which goes throughout all the days of the Yom Tov, Mudgash Inyan ha'achtus, B'chinas achas d'chol Yisrael, it emphasizes the concept of achtus, of the unity of the entire Jewish people. K'maymer Razal, Re'uyim kol Yisrael, leishev b'sukkah achas. All of Israel are worthy of sitting in one sukkah. So again, just like we said by Rosh Hashanah and by Yom Kippur, that it takes the splitting, it takes the separation, and it unifies it into one essence. So also Sukkot takes all of Israel, every single Jew, and unifies them into one essence that's able to sit in one single sukkah. The same thing is with regards to the mitzvah of shaking the four kinds. That the idea of the mitzvah of shaking the four kinds is to draw down that level of makif which is above the world, which is sukkah, which is surrounding and above the person, to bring it down and internalize it. How does one do it? Through the mitzvah of the four kinds. What's the mitzvah of the four kinds? In each of these four kinds, it's recognizable and it's emphasized the idea of oneness. Especially the esrig. Which the esrig brings out the idea of achdus and oneness even more than the other four kinds. And this is why the order and the way things are in Torah is that we start with the esrig, with the Pri Eitz Hadar, with the beautiful fruit. Why does the Torah call the esrig the Pri Eitz Hadar? And the Gemara explains, the word Hadar comes from Hadar, that it dwells in the tree throughout the entire year. Hainu, which means the esrig is able to take and tolerate all the different changes that happen, the extreme changes from one extreme to the other in all the four seasons of the year. To the extent that not only does the esrig tolerate all the different atmospheres and all the different weather changes and temperature changes, more than that, it grows from them. That's the ultimate idea of oneness. What did we say separation means? There's differences. The ultimate of separation is the four seasons where it goes from one extreme to the other. The esrig not only tolerates them all and unites them all into one single esrig, but it actually grows from the differences and the changes. The oneness of the esrig is such that its oneness grows from the diversity of the different the different seasons. This concept of oneness that there is in the esrig, this oneness comes into all the other three types. That's why we learned that all the other four minim have to be beautiful. We learned it from the esrig, which means from the word hadar, which means hadar, the unity, the oneness, the tolerating all the diversity of the different types of seasons that the esrig has. It brings that into all the other three minim, three types, that they also have that oneness. And besides the fact that each one of the four kinds shows on the oneness, which you see it in each type, the lulav the leaves have to be together, but it's different leaves. It's not just one. If it's one, it's not kosher. It has to be leaves that split, but yet they're not split. The hadas has to be three different leaves, but they all grow in the same place. The arava is two aravas that grow together. All the idea of bringing unity into diversity, and even more than that in the esrig, which brings it into all the other three types. But in addition to that, in a mitzvah and atilas daled minim, achid is called daled minim. Shemayim al daled asukush bnei Yisrael. The mitzvah of taking the four kinds is to unite all the four kinds, which they show in the four types of Jews. Shia v'yasu chula maguda achas lasis ritzeincha b'leiv of shalim, that they should all make one group and do the will of Hashem with a complete heart. So the idea of the four kinds is unifying the diversity. So every single aspect of Tishrei, Rosh Hashanah, Yom Kippur, Sukkot, both with the Sukkah and with the Daled Minim, is bringing unity into the diversity. Now continues the Rebbe to say in Daled Vinei B'chdei sheyuchal liyisai sachtos amitis uvas kayama shel kol hadaled sugim di Yisrael u'al yidei hatshuva. What enables there to be unification in the diversity, taking the four types of Jews with all their separation and different types, all the different extremes and polar opposites from one side to the other. How do they become united? How can you take so many opposites and unite them? That happens through tshuva. That means all of these Yamim Tovim of Tishrei are expressing the idea of tshuva. What does tshuva mean? Dinei hatshuva l'mayla mischalkos shalacheni b'shayta chada v'riga chada. Tshuva is above separation, which is why tshuva comes in one moment. Tshuva is taking the separation and the diversity of all the sins and all the things that a person was involved with in the world, and not only sins, but his involvement in the separation of the world. And tshuva is uniting it together, but it takes one turn, one moment. It's a oneness. It's one essential concept, tshuva. This is the difference between the first luchas, which is the giving of the Torah, which was beyond sin. It's the Torah on its own. To the second luchas, which is the Torah that comes through tshuva after a sin and coming through tshuva, getting to the second luchas. And in general, Yom Kippur and Sukkot, which come from Yom Kippur, is the celebration of the second luchas. שבכדי לקבל לוחס הראשון היה מוישה בהר 40 יום נאסף על ההכנה דשבע שבועות תספר לך שהיה לפני זה. In order to get the first luchos, which is the Torah as it is on its own, the Torah of tzaddikim, for that Moshe Rabbeinu, in addition to the 7 weeks of preparation after Pesach, he had to be for 40 days on the mountain. Mashenkim beluchos hashniyos, whereas in the second luchos, the fact that Moshe Rabbeinu was on the mountain for 40 days wasn't in order to receive the Torah, wasn't rather in order to cause Hashem to accept, to forgive the Jewish people for the sin of the Egel. But the giving the luchas was in one moment. Unlike the first luchas that took time to internalize it, to take it in, 7 weeks, 40 days. Unlike that, the second luchas took time to cause and bring about that Hashem should forgive the sin of the Egel. That was 40 days. But the actual giving of the luchas was a one moment thing, because that's the idea of tshuva. Tshuva comes in one moment. This concept, the fact that tshuva is in one moment, madgish, this emphasizes shini na tshuva l'mayla mikol medida v'agbala. Tshuva is beyond all limitations and all types of measurement, all ways of being able to classify things. True oneness is beyond classification, and true tshuva reaches the very essence of the soul, which is beyond and above any type of separation. The one moment, the 1 second, the one turn of the soul. This is why through tshuva there becomes the unification of all the different types of Jews, from the heads of the tribes to the wood choppers and the water carriers, uveif, and in a way of atem nitzavim kulchem chul geimer nitzavim miloshin nitzav melech. Tshuva is the idea of all Jews standing together. You take the diversity and the separation of Jews and you unite it and make it one. But not only that, that becomes nitzavim, standing strong with a power, nitzav melech. Yisrael nasim malachim un balabatim ala metzius dielam. The Jewish people become the kings and the ones who are controlling the existence of the world. The world is the diversity of the world. It's controlled by a Jew, by the unity, the oneness of the Jew. Maschil mizeh, starting from the fact which is in Parshas Nitzavim, which is read always right before Rosh Hashanah. Shem nichtavim b'nichtavim b'ksiva v'achsima teva, that every Jew is written and sealed with aksiva v'achsima teva l'shana teva mesukah, for a good and sweet year. B'teva nire v'niglen, a revealed and open good lamata me'asara tvachim. below 10 tvachim, meaning in the physical world. Gam binyanim agashmim, this ksiva v'achsima teva doesn't just remain the oneness. The power that the Jew has over the world doesn't just remain in the spiritual sense. It comes down until it becomes even the physical concepts, which by definition they are diverse. When you come to the essential oneness which is king, which rules over the world, there is no longer a separation between spiritual and physical, between above and below. And this is something that takes through the entire Seder Ishtalshus, entire manner of the light of Hashem coming into the world, and even what's above Ishtalshus. So in Inyan Bechad Bo Kulan Lishal Shleim HaMelech Avi and Chulu. Navid Kulan Chad Yom Tev and Echdi Imahen. And that's the idea of the Yom Echad, the one day which is all the Yom Tevim of Tishrei, and especially Yom Echad Shebo Kulan Lishal Shleim HaMelech Avi and Yom HaKippurim. Achas Dishana V'gam Achas De'elam V'Denefesh. The whole idea of the Yom Echad is take all of Shana and Olam Nefesh, time, space, and being. Bring out the oneness of it all where it's essentially one. That Yom Echad, that's Yom Kippur, which brings out, because that's Tshuva, that's above separation. That takes the diversity, but it takes it to become above separation where there's where there's the essence is revealed. And from that there comes Achar Kach Navid Kulon Chad Yom Tov Chulu Shekoyal Simchas Torah Shugam Ken Yom Echad Chad Yom Tov Chinas Achas. From this Yom Echad of Yom Kippur, which is Tshuva, there is no need to take it and chew it for 7 weeks, for 40 days, like we said, because Tshuva is above separation. It's the oneness. It's where we reach the oneness. From that oneness of Yom Kippur, it's able to be internalized immediately into the oneness of the Chad Yom Tov, the one single Yom Tov, which unites all of the daughters, all of the Jewish people, but brings it down into the world because it's above separation between spiritual and physical. The oneness, the essential connection becomes revealed in the essence of the world. And now the Rabbi continues to say, once there is this arousal of this oneness of this soul which is revealed on Yom Kippur and brought out on Simchas Torah, now this has to be brought down into the separation, into the diversity, into the classified separate levels of the soul. It has to come down into the physical world, similar to the fact that this arousal and this inspiration has to be connected with physical action. Like we're bringing the oneness of Sukkot into a physical action of sitting in the Sukkah, Netilas Dal and Minim, shaking the 4 types. On Simchas Torah, Rikud Beraglaim, dancing with feet, bringing it down into the physical, into the diverse world of physical, bringing this essential oneness. That's why after the pasuk of Atem Nitzavim, which brings out the oneness and the unity of all the Jewish people, fact that all Jews are in the level of kulchem because of that oneness. As then the Torah goes through specifically all of the 10 types, which means it goes into the different types. We're already the oneness which is above separation. Why do we then go into the different classifications of Jews? Because that's the meaning of that oneness of tshuva, of the oneness, that it comes down and is recognizable even in the diversity of the world. The same way this is in nefesh and being in the soul, it's also like this in the year and time. That this oneness, the one day, this single oneness, that there is the essence of a Jew, which is above understanding, above knowledge, above separation, above classification, this oneness comes now down into the year. This oneness of Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah. Just like the oneness of Sukkot comes into the Sukkah, the oneness of Sukkot comes into the 4 minim, the oneness of Simchas Torah comes into the dancing, also in time this oneness comes now into the year, which is a year of separation of different parts. It comes into every day of the year, maschil mi yisruchak, starting from the day immediately after Simchas Torah. Shebechol prate asiyosav, in all of a person's physical actions. Bechol masecha, in all of your ways of in all of your actions of bechol derochecha, in all of your ways. Nicker, it's recognizable as there is ot ersh gekumin miyom echad yom kippurim v'simchas Torah. He just came from that one single day of Yom Kippur, Simchas Torah. That oneness doesn't remain on Yom Kippur and on Simchas Torah. It comes now into the regular days of the year, every single day. That oneness is felt even in days of separation, in days of concealment, in days where godliness is not revealed, that oneness is felt. The Inyan and this concept continues all year long. The Afshekvar Avru Kama V'Kama Yamim Shavuos V'Chadashim. Even though already many days, weeks, and even months passed by from Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah, nevertheless, I say it was the Yom Echad. This inspiration of the one single day of Yom Kippur and of Simchas Torah doesn't get weakened at all. Why? Because it's a oneness that's above separation that can't become weakened. It stands with the same power because it comes from a level which is above separation and therefore above change. Which that's the idea of I am Hashem who doesn't change. That's the oneness and the essence of Hashem that's above change. Through the fact that this level of the one day, which is above separation, comes down into all the days of the year which are separate, which do change. We explained earlier that the esrog, what's special about the esrog? Not only does it tolerate all the changes and the extreme temperature changes that come throughout the year, but it actually grows from them. It takes them all, and that adds to the essence of the esrog. So also, through the fact that the one day of Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah have an effect on the diversity of every day of the year, that makes the Yom Kippur and Simchas Torah be even stronger. And the Rebbe ends up Ratzin. All of this should be fulfilled amongst every single man and woman from amongst the Jewish people. That the year of separation, the year of regular days, should be a good and blessed year. And a revealed and open blessing down here in the physical, mundane world. Bibani, Chayum, Mezeni, with children, life and livelihood, V'kulam, Revicha, and in all of them in a way of abundance. Hein, Bivani, Chayum, Mezeni, Kipshutam, both in children, life and livelihood, in the simple sense. V'hein, Bivani, Chayum, Mezeni, Beruchnius, and also in children, life and livelihood in the way it is in the spiritual sense, from which it comes the way they are in the simple sense. That with joy and a good heart, immediately after Simchas Torah, a person should take that joy that comes from the oneness, from the essence, and bring it in Yaakov going in his way, even with regards to mundane manners. Also, after Yom Kippur, when a Jew is one connected with Hashem, he then goes into his path. But then his path is still connected to mitzvahs, the mitzvah of building a sukkah, of buying lulav and esrog, etc. The 4 days between Yom Kippur and Sukkot, everyone's involved in mitzvahs. However, the Yaakov after Simchas Torah is even in mundane matters, every single day. Hein v'moisachol, both in weekdays, v'alachas kama v'kama v'Shabbos v'Yom and certainly on Shabbos and Yom which is koilol gam Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, which includes also Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur. Zayin durchgenommen kol inyanov, every one of those days, every one of a person's essence is totally permeated. Hein inyanim haklalim, whether it's general concepts, ve'ein inyanim hapratim, and specific things are totally permeated in the kuda ha'ikris v'apnimis, with the one single main and inner point. The pnimius v'atzmus and neshama of the inner essence of his neshama, shikshura b'pnimius v'atzmus and seif, which is connected with the inner essence of Seif Baruch Hu, of the infinite of Hashem, which that's the oneness. Umikivan shezeba mi Simchas Torah, and since this comes from Simchas Torah, shesimcha peiretzas kol hagdarim, and simcha breaks through all boundaries. L'mayla memedida v'agbala goes beyond limitation and beyond any type of classification. That is, it peiretz umevatel kol hagdarim v'agbalis dibgalos apnimi. Therefore, this breaks through and gets rid of all of the limitations of the inner galus. V'chein hagdarim v'agbalis the galus kipshuta, in the limitations of the galus in the simple sense. V'zeichim, and we merit shebikarev mamish, that very soon yeh v'sechazena eineinu b'shuvcha l'tzion berachamim, should be able to see how Hashem returns to Tzion physically and with mercy, b'gula amitis v'ashleima yidei Mashiach tzidkeinu. Yavai v'yolicheinu k'mius l'artzeinu meirav yameinu mamish. Mashiach should come and lead us upstanding to our land speedily in our time. V'yivneh Beis HaMikdash b'mkaimai, Mashiach should build the Beis HaMikdash in its proper place. V'yikabes nidchei Yisrael, he should gather all the scattered of Israel v'chulu. V'ad asher oz efech el am safa brura v'kaimer, until it transforms the whole diversity of the world, by Hashem transforming all the nations to come with a clear word and a clear language, ulavdei shechem echad, all to serve Hashem together. V'haisa l'Hashem ha'melucha, and the kingship will then, in every aspect of the world, belong to Hashem.